Hello guys, and thank you for joining me. My name is Evgen, and today I am bringing you another EDC fountain pen. The what I call EDC TC4 Titanium fountain pen 03, since there are no brand's name associated with this pen. I have found this pen on AliExpress and managed to snatch it for around $51 Canadian, with a store discount at about $260 and free shipping. As you can see, the pen does come in a nice pen case, which is very similar with the first EDC fountain pen that I have received, and it does come as an option to use it as a ball point. When you open the case, you'll have the pen on the right side and the ballpoint spare plus the section for the ballpoint, including two cartridges, which are not needed to use because the pen does come with a converter as well. There seems to be two versions for this fountain pen, a high polished version and a stone polished look. I opted for the stone polished look. One thing to note is that the pen does not come anodized. This is something that I have done after receiving it, testing it to make sure it's actual titanium. I tested it with a magnet. I also tested it with a flame to see if I can actually flame anodize it. And well, as you can see, I managed to get some colors out of it. This pen was the hardest to prepare for the anodizing process because it's not as simple to disassemble as the other pens that I had so far, or at least the copy that I have is not something that can easily be taken apart. And well, let's say there were some complications, and I'll get into them as I present the pen. So first of all, as you can see, it's pretty much a Lamy Safari copy, but in a titanium version. Seems to be a pretty accurate copy from what I can see, but there are some small differences. And as I mentioned, the pen does come with the option to use it as a ballpoint, and as such you have an extra section for the ballpoint use. Top finial is basically a screw that can be unscrewed in order to take the cap apart, and the bottom of the barrel is pretty much flat. It also has the two flat ends of the pen as Safari does, without any inscriptions on the pen. If I can get the camera to focus. However, you do have the two ink windows as well, just like Safari has. The clip on the pen, it's actually very springy and very usable. I like it actually. Not that I usually use clips, but this is an actual good clip. And from what I've seen, I believe this is also a titanium piece, because I was able to test that up a little bit with a flame, and I managed to anodize it a little bit. Cap, it's a pull-push type, and one thing that I really like about it is the noise that it makes. I'm gonna bring it up to the mic, hopefully it's gonna pick it up. It has a really nice ping to it when you remove the cap. And as you post it, it posts very securely, very well. Now I'm not sure if I'll be able to show, probably not. Like usual, I don't have light good enough to show inside the cap, but basically inside the cap you have a metal clip that clips on the edge of the pen, and that part, it's actually metal. I don't know if it's titanium, I didn't try to anodize it, but its function, it's actually very good and very secure. I like it. And once you remove the cap, basically the pen Looks pretty much like a Lamy Safari. It has the same style feed and nib. However, I don't think you are actually able to use the Safari nibs or the Lamy nibs. I tried, and this feed it's a little bit narrower, so the nib doesn't actually sit on the feed, it will fall down, it's very loose. One difference is, as you can see here, between the barrel and the section, you do not have that ring at the end. It's metal on metal, basically. There's no spacers in between. Section is exactly like a Lamy Safari, has the two sides for where you put your fingers in order to hold the pen correctly. Once you remove the barrel, you will basically show an actual Lamy converter. I don't know if it's original or a copy, but it does have the two knobs on the converter like a Lamy converter would have. And also it does have an O-ring. This O-ring unfortunately doesn't have its own groove where it can sit, and it kind of sits on the threads. So I have a feeling that that O-ring probably in time will get pretty much destroyed. But we'll see as time comes. Now, a few warnings if you're trying to anodize this fountain pen. First of all, starting with the cap. So this is an actual screw that you can undo. However, you need to find something in order to keep that clip in place. What I found to works is an Allen key, a rounded Allen key that you can actually push in. Try and find the size that is right for you, and then you can unscrew this. Just so you know, there is an O-ring behind this bolt or screw, so if you're just trying to anodize it as is, you will destroy that O-ring and you'll make a mess out of it. And at the same time, this spring clip, if you're trying to anodize the cap as is with flame specifically, then this will actually spring back up, and you'll have to remove it anyway because it won't really work. So if you do flame anodizing, you definitely want to take the cap apart. However, keep in mind that it's going to be some work involved. That's one. Second, with this section and the feed that it has, at least on my copy, the feed was very tight in place. Like it almost felt like it was forced inside the section. This is actually not the original feed. Unfortunately, I had to destroy the original feed because it would not come out of it. So basically I had to punch out that feed and eventually completely destroyed it. That thing is actually removable. I think from the factory it is glued, but if you flame anodize it, you will destroy that glue and that piece that it's inside will basically come out. You can use some pliers that are having either some rubber ends or plastic ends to not destroy that metal, and it can come out. So anyway, in the process of trying to anodize this thing and remove every plastic bit that was on it, I had to destroy the feed, and I ended up using a new nib. The feed, it's tight towards the end of it, and basically that little nipple that comes through the pen, it was forced in there. So what I had to do with the new feed, fortunately I do have a couple of spares, I basically had to shave slowly that nipple in order to make it fit properly in the pen. And that's it pretty much. This is the pen. Nothing really special about it. It looks a lot like a Lamy Safari, like I mentioned. Just a little bit heavier since, well, it's all out of metal. And should be interesting using it. I like the feeling in hand. Oh, one thing to note, yeah, it won't post. So this won't actually post. So you'll have to use it as is. So fortunately though, the length of the pen seems to be pretty good, and I'm fairly confident a lot of people will be able to use it as is. And you can make a stand if you really want. Today I'm gonna go back to basics, and I'm gonna go back to my favorite carbon ink that can be used in pens, or at least in regular pens, the Platinum Carbon ink. Filling it up is very easy, nothing complicated, just like any other pen that has a converter. Put it inside the ink, turn the piston. First time to prime the feed, and second time to get a good feel out of it, hopefully. And it looks like this converter is pretty good. It gets a really decent feel, and seems to be cleaning up pretty good as well. Not an issue as far as I can tell. And as a writing example, I guess, my position here is not the best. I have a microphone in front of me, so this will be a the nib feels very well, very wet actually. And well, keep in mind though, this is not the original nib and feed, since the original feed had to be destroyed when I was trying to remove it from the section. However, whatever I put in seems to be actually pretty good. It works very well. I do like the nib. Trying to do reverse. Reverse, it's actually a little bit thinner, but obviously it's a little bit more uncomfortable since you have this small, thin side of the section that will rest on your finger. But still doable for small things. And let me try out the ballpoint, see how it works. Just putting this section aside. So what to see this the barrel without the that's Lamy Safari section. Oh, this seems to be actually gel. So I guess this will be now what it is for. So odd to write with a with a pen, not a fountain pen. It feels nice though, no complaints. And this, it's a 0.5. That's all that I understand from it. If you know better, this is what it is. And this is what it says on the other side. It seems that I've been doing a theme with all my titanium fountain pens, so I guess I will be continuing with that theme. And as you can see from the screen, I will be drawing another reptile. I believe this was a rattlesnake, and if I remember correctly, I took this picture at Reptilia, and should be interesting how it's going to turn out. As you can see from the picture, a lot of the things are a little bit blurry because this was a close-up photo. The snake was sitting right next to the window. As usual, I have no idea how it's going to turn out, but I'll definitely gonna give a pretty serious workout to this fountain pen, and we'll come back with conclusions. See you soon. And with that, I conclude the drawing for today complete. It was another fun one. And took a little bit of time, only because of the hashing that I have to do. And this pen actually turned out to be a little bit wet. So I had to adjust my planning to make sure I get some result that I will be able to use somehow. And I'm actually pleased with this in the end. Nothing wrong with it. I used a little bit of the alcohol markers as well. And these ones, they do seep through the page. But the page holds alcohol markers pretty well. So, conclusions, I guess. Well, let's start with the positive. What was positive about it? I really like the weight, and while it might be on the heavy side, for some people, personally, I find it quite nice. Actually, to be honest, I find it better weighted than the actual Safari. Since the construction is plastic and it's light. If you like that weight, you're probably not gonna like the weight of this pen because, well, obviously it's a little bit heavier. And also, I'll be honest, I'm not that big of a Safari fan. And when I bought this pen, I was a little bit skeptic about it. And turned out that I actually like it, probably more than the Safari. I mean, it is a Safari in a way, just not the original, right? Another positive for some people probably it will be the fact that it comes with a ballpoint section. And you can actually, as I've shown you, you can easily switch between them without much of an issue. And what else? The threads. The threads are actually really good. I like them. I can't complain about that. And now, the other thing that I guess I'll put it on the positive side of things is that I really like how it turned out when I finally end up being able to actually anodize the pen. Since the colors of the original finish of the pen was basically a stone polished look, that gave some more mute colors, not as vibrant as probably you'll get if you get very high polished versions. But what I like about this, I'm not sure if you'll be able to pick it up from the video, I like how the edges, they turn out to have like a halo around them, like a purplish halo, and I really like that. Something like that there. Probably hard to come in the to show it in the video, but it definitely looks much better in real life. Trying to get the angles on it. I guess that's the best way I can get for now. And that made me really like this pen. Come on, come back. There you go. Now for negatives. I guess the biggest negative of this pen is the feed and how it's fitted on this pen. It's way too tight, and if you want to do, well, clean it up or anything that you want to do with the pen to fix or I don't know, whatever, maintenance basically, removing it will pretty much mean destroying that feed like I did. I try to be as gentle as possible, but that's plastic. And I honestly, it felt like they press fitted that feed in, which it's just wrong. And because of that, I had to destroy the original feed, and as such, I had to reuse a different feed. And also put this new nib on it to work with that fit better. They were paired from the beginning. And at the same time, in order to make it fit, I had to actually, modify the feed a little bit to make sure it works in nice and smooth. So now I can actually remove the feed much easier without destroying it. But again, that requires some time and effort on my part. So if you're not really into tinkering with your fountain pens, you're probably not gonna like that. So this might not be the pen for you. Another maybe a little bit of annoyance for some people, and I do find it a little bit annoying, is that the alignment is a little bit off. You can probably see, hopefully in the video, that this ink window doesn't fully align with the top of the section. Another thing, the O-ring. The O-ring is actually very useful. It holds the barrel quite nicely. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a dedicated groove for it, and as such that O-ring actually rides on the threads. I'm not sure how long that O-ring would last. I mean, in the end you could probably do without, but it's definitely nice to have it there. I like how it gives a more secure feeling to that barrel. And another thing that people might dislike is that, well, it doesn't post. And I know some people might dislike that, and there's no way you can make it post. However, in all honesty though, considering how heavy this cap is, I don't think you will like it posted, because you will back weight the pen quite a lot. So again, I like the pen. I'll definitely use it. I'm happy it's in my collection, but I find it very hard to recommend it. Without at least with, like big buyer beware before jumping on it. Would I buy it again? That's a tough question. I don't know if I would buy it again. Not unless I'm somehow proven from the beginning that the fitment feed issues are solved before making an order. And maybe if they fix the issue with the alignment of the ink window. Those are my two biggest gripes with this pen. I like it. I'm happy it's in my collection. I'll definitely use it again. It's just I can't recommend it with a good conscience, basically. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you enjoyed my drawing, and I guess I will be seeing you next time. I wish you all the best. Have a good night or a good day, wherever you are, and take care. Bye.